And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to talk about the Clippers matchup against the Phoenix Suns. Now, I completely expected the Phoenix Suns to end up winning this game. I did not expect that the game was going to end up being as close as it was. This game ended up going into overtime, and Kevin Durant ended up hitting the game-tying shot to send the game into overtime. The game was really close to going into double overtime until James Harden ended up missing the free throw that would have tied the game and most likely would have sent it into double overtime, which was a very, very bad miss for the Clippers at that specific time. I didn't expect them to win, but I do think that kind of shot, and missing that shot in that big of a moment, it was a choke. It's really, really tough. Like, that's a very tough way to go out, because James Harden had a fantastic game. He had a great game in this one. He ended the game with 29 points, 12 rebounds, along with 8 assists as well. Almost a triple-double. Almost prime Harden performance. However, he did shoot 10 for 28 from the field, which is very, very bad. It's very inefficient. But again, having 29 points, that was way more than what I expected James Harden to come out with. And one of the big reasons why he probably didn't end up scoring 30 in this game was because of the 2 missed free throws. He only took 9 free throws in this game. So usually a prime James Harden performance would have way more free throws, and as a result would end up getting way more points. So really the only thing that was missing from this Harden performance was the free throws. And he choked in the final minutes of the overtime game and ended up missing one of the most important shots for the team. And that's a very, very tough way to lose, because he was playing phenomenally throughout the rest of the game. It's just he was, well, not really phenomenally, but he was playing solid throughout most of the game. And he just ended up missing. Like, it was a bad way to miss. I mean, the free throw is something that he's special at, and they definitely could have sent this game into double overtime if he would have made it. Now, who would have won in double overtime? It's not entirely clear, but still, this was a very, very heartbreaking loss for the Clippers, considering how they weren't expected to win, then they came super close to winning, and then at the end they ended up choking. So, as I said, Harden was the best player for the Clippers, but Ivica Zubac was also great for this Clippers team as well. 8 for 13 from the field, 21 points. Norman Powell, 5 for 16, which is not all that great, but again, 17 points. He did go 1 for 7 from 3, which is just not ideal. In fact, the entire Clippers team shot poorly from 3. They shot 27% from 3 as a team and 45% from the field as a team, which, the 45% field goal is all right, but the 27% from 3 is less than ideal, especially when you're trying to go up against a team like the Suns, who have ridiculous firepower on the offense. Now, speaking of the Suns, as I predicted, the Suns ended up winning this game, but I didn't predict the stats properly. It's funny how I messed up. So pay attention to this. So Kevin Durant, he ended up scoring 25 points, exactly as I expected. I completely expected him to score at the very least 25, and he did. 8 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, along with 7 rebounds with that, and 3 steals combined as well. And, he had 25 points, so I was right with that. But with Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, I wasn't right with their points. Now, I said Devin Booker would score at least 24, but it turns out that Bradley Beal ended up scoring 24 and ended up getting 8 for 12 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. So a great game coming in from Bradley Beal. And Devin Booker, he didn't score 24, he ended up scoring 15. So what I thought Devin Booker was going to score was actually how much Bradley Beal scored, and what I thought Bradley Beal was going to score was actually how much Devin Booker was going to score. So I flip-flopped the two. And the reason why Devin Booker didn't end with more points is because he only took 9 shots. And he was 4 for 5 from 3, super efficient from 3, but he only took 9 shots. So I was expecting his shot volume to be way higher than it was in this game. But still, very, very solid performance coming in from Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant, the big three of Phoenix. And the rest of the lineup didn't really play that well, but they didn't really, I mean, they sort of have to if they wanted to win this game in an easy way, in a way that I thought they were going to win this game. But the performance was like sort of expected. Tyus Jones ended up going 5 for 10 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, so not really all that impressive, but he did end the game with 8 assists, which is the most assists, and he was the starting point guard for this team. So the lineup was looking like Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and then Nurkic, which is a pretty small lineup when you think about it, but again, it's like these guys can score the ball on anybody, so that's really the idea. You have to bank on their mid-range scoring, and they're hope that they're efficient. Grayson Allen, I thought he was going to have a pretty solid game in this one, but he didn't. He ended up going 2 for 7 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3, which wasn't the performance that I expected from him. I thought he was going to make at least 5 3-pointers, but he ended up not. So not ideal, but again, a win is a win is a win. You win by a mile, you win by an inch. It doesn't really matter. But more or less, from what I noticed, this team is still it's still the same Phoenix Suns. Like, that's from what I noticed. I mean, the production and the scoring, the isolation scoring, how they get their buckets, it's exactly the same. So I don't really expect the Phoenix Suns to do much come the postseason. I mean, their postseason is just going to be dependent on how often Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal can score 25 plus at the very least. And I don't think that's something that's really reliable in this league anymore. Like, you need an incredibly solid team. You can't just rely, and I don't think it's ever going to be possible. You can't rely on isolation basketball. There's no such thing as an ISO gang. You can't do it. Kevin Durant, the Nets tried this with Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and Harden, but it ended up failing, mainly because of injuries, Kyrie being a quack, and in the year where Kyrie and Kevin Durant actually were healthy, they ended up missing a ridiculous amount of shots. I think in Game 2, they went 0 for 17 at one point after the first half, and that completely killed their momentum, and that ended the game. It was really, really bad. In fact, that game was one of the worst games I've ever seen coming in from the Brooklyn Nets, because those two players, they were taking the exact same shots that they would always make, and they ended up missing those shots. And even when they were missing, when help defense was on the way, they just refused to pass the ball. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, I get it, these are good, these are shots that you guys make, but if you're not going to make them, if you see that you're missing, like, get other people involved. You can't just focus on isolating and expecting to hit your shots. Like, you have to have a good team to do that. Now, for the Clippers, I'm a little bit shocked that they were able to keep this game a bit close. So, do I think that the Clippers are going to make the playoffs? No. But are we going to expect a prime peak Harden performance now that Kawhi Leonard isn't going to be playing as much? Possibly. I mean, James Harden is most likely going to be taking more shots than anybody else on the court. So it's a very high chance that those shots end up falling, and he has a couple of his peak Harden performances. So there's a very solid chance that it happens. But again, that's just a really big shot in the dark. I don't have any faith in the Clippers, and I'm not really that high on the Phoenix Suns either, just based off of their isolation and how they play basketball. But that is just me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys think that Phoenix are still going to be a playoff team? Do you think they're going to be a team that can go farther in the postseason than just the first round? And do you think they have a chance? Because quite frankly, I don't think they have that chance. But people have different opinions. So with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and go into our break and then go into the fourth segment where I recap all of the games that happened yesterday. So I already talked about 3 of them, and might as well go ahead and talk. Actually, yeah, no, I did talk about 3 of them. So I might as well go ahead and finish off the rest right after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.